You're at the drive-through ATM. A man walks up to your car and puts a gun in your face, forces you to get out of the car and then get into the trunk, while he then gets into the driver's seat and takes off. It might seem like a scene out of a movie, but this is real surveillance video. If it happened to you, would you know how to survive it? A course called Restraint Defeat teaches you how to break free from rope, duct tape, and zip ties if you're abducted or being held against your will. That course is offered in this area, and when Kim Gable went to it, she was one of several people there learning how to survive it.
My name's Zach Grove. I'm a former CIA officer.
With that introduction, we know this isn't your typical self-improvement seminar. You won't see any notepads or PowerPoints. The tools for this session are a bit more unconventional.
Who would not want to learn how to get out of duct tape?
Okay, it might not be on your bucket list, but Zach's collaboration with INPAX Academy of Personal Protection has a broader goal: to educate and empower.
I was a CIA officer for 10 years. I was an operations officer and staff operations officer. Worked in a lot of locations overseas where there's kidnapping risks.
Both Zach and INPAX owner Sam Rosenberg know people who've been abducted or restrained and live to tell about it. The National Crime Information Center reports hundreds of cases each year.
The unthinkable does happen. This is one of the most extreme dynamics in terms of last resort, how do you save your life?
It happens locally on occasion, but Pittsburgh's a global city. Pittsburghers are traveling around the world. They're traveling to the Middle East, traveling to Africa, Latin America. Those risks are all very significant there.
We had Zach demonstrate the duct tape method he learned during his years in counterterrorism.
And I'm going to raise up my arms and I'm going to bring it into my torso and snap the duct tape, just like this.
Yep, it's that easy.
So you're tensing up right now.
I am. So here we go. And you can see it just rips it apart.
That is unbelievable.
And it took only seconds for me to learn.
So you tense up. I'm going to duct tape your wrist. And again, the tensing portion is if you can't break it, it might allow you to slip out too. So you're going to clench up, you're going to raise up, and when you commit to it, you're going to follow through and press hard right into it.
And I'm going to do this with a considerable amount of force, right?
That's correct. As much force as you can put into it.
Okay, so I'm raising up.
Yep.
That is awesome.
The Restraint Defeat course drew a full roster of participants, some out of curiosity, others out of concern. Kelly Kupiak operates several restaurants.
As the owner, I'm in the safe, I'm handling money, I'm behind the register, and this is a very real scenario that can happen to me, and I'd rather tackle it in a controlled environment than to have a bad guy come and get me, tie me up, and then I'm helpless.
And when you ask someone to list their worst fears, chances are that's one of them.
I just have a much greater view of my options, and if something horrible were going to happen, I feel I now have a way to respond that I didn't have before.
The class learns alternative techniques like sawing off the tape. Behind the back, even easier. Then they graduate to plastic zip ties.
I cannot imagine breaking free from that. That's just crazy.
There's a technique that we teach. I'm just going to do the same technique.
More challenging, but still doable.
There you go.
Even industrial-grade ties. Consider it all a valuable novelty to add to your repertoire.
And I'm sure you get people who, like me too, are just curious,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. It's a cool thing to learn. So
it really
could be
is.
a party favorite, you know, or something like that.
And a life-saving lesson that builds the kind of confidence you can never break down.
Yeah, I didn't think it was possible. I really didn't think it was possible.
Feel empowered?
I do. I do. I want more.
Now, again, we know the likelihood of this ever happening to you is very, very small, but that inaugural workshop actually attracted a lot of interest from retirees to business executives, even a lot of young moms there in the crowd. Now, what we found pretty interesting is, first of all, how simple it was. You both were commenting on that, and the fact that there's people out there like Zach who can teach you these highly specialized skills, but again, so simple.
And you're saying that it's not that difficult to get out of the ones behind your back. A little more difficult than in the front, but you can still do it.
Right. Now, the duct tape is easier behind the back because you can't get your hands, you know, together. If somebody's duct taping you behind your back, you can sort of wiggle out of that. But the zip ties, I'll admit, those were a little more challenging. A lot of the gals there, we had trouble with the zip ties, but most of the guys are breaking free, you know, right out of it.
Well, when I heard about this, I was thinking, all right, this really is not going to happen to any of us.
Right.
But the woman who works in the restaurant makes a really good point. I didn't think about that. That is a possibility for somebody like her. You're working in the restaurant, you're handling all that cash. Somebody walks in and ties you up like that. I was impressed by the crowd too. Did they kick anybody out? Like if you're going there to learn tips on how to do this to somebody?
Right, and that's a great question.
Is there a vetting process?
Everyone there is thoroughly vetted. There's sort of like a little mini background check, actually. And we showed a lot there, but we deliberately did not show everything. For example, Zach actually went into a demonstration on how to escape from handcuffs. And for obvious reasons, we're not going to show everybody how to do that. So, you know, both Sam and Zach want to make it very clear they would never do anything to hamper the efforts of law enforcement. We don't want to do that.
All right.
Regular Houdinis.
You ready for the duct tape?
Interesting
All right.
stuff.
Thanks, Kim.